What is going on, guys and girls? How are you doing today? It's Single Roleplay here once again. Today I want to show you guys the build that I used as kind of a leveling build for my Kinetic Blast Wonder. And this is a pretty common setup that a lot of people are using on the way to tornado shots on practically any bow builds. But most people just give up a lightning arrow and just transition to something else. But I kind of fell in love with the setup. It felt super strong, very smooth. All bosses went down easily. So I played with this setup up to from level 1 to 85 without any problems at all. And so I felt like there is potential in this setup, and I saw that the build can push further. It can really transition well into the end game and kill all the bosses as well. It has a decent clear speed, so I decided I'm gonna do a fully pledged lightning arrow barrage build guide for you guys to enjoy. And there's not many of these builds out there. At the same time, I really like how it all went while leveling, and also I think I will recommend this build right now to everyone who want to start the game with some Triton bow skills, because literally this is like an all-round one of the best bow skills in the game. It's super strong, it's super smooth, very easy to assemble. It doesn't require any dramatic understanding of core game knowledge whatsoever. It's just absolutely not needed. It's quite easy to get off the ground. It has different scaling options, how you can scale it further into the end game. It has stretch goals. It literally has everything, and a lightning arrow is just a very cool skill to play on its own. And Barrage solves the single target issue. So overall, it's absolutely fantastic league starter, which is easy to play from the very beginning to the very end. It's this rare combination of skills that literally you take in Act 1 and play with this combination till the very, very end game, including Uber Elder. There's not many skills in the game that can really handle this, because most of the time you need some additional stronger skills to help you push forward end game. But this skill actually has no problems. It does absolutely fantastic at the start, at the middle, at the mapping, at the bossing. It literally does everything really, really good. That's one of the reasons why I decided, and I saw the potential, I decided I'm gonna push it forward, and I absolutely succeeded, guys. I killed Uber Elder twice with this build, and not a big problem at all. And the clear speed is absolutely not worse than Tornado Shot and anything that I've played. It is definitely a little worse than the Kinetic Blast, because Kinetic Blast is just absolutely ridiculous. But overall, it's a super solid setup, which I can totally recommend if you're new to the game. As a league starter, it's absolutely brilliant. So let's take a look further into the build, guys. Let's go. For the pros of the build, I would say that the build definitely is kind of easy to take off the ground. Like I said, it can take any content in the game, and I really like how cheaper this build is comparing to Tornado Shot. For one reason, this is a lightning arrow build, and this means we deal mostly lightning damage. And most people that play Tornado Shot and pretty much any other bow builds, they're mostly concentrating on hatred and cold stacking jewels. But this build doesn't care about really the cold stacking jewels. It's mostly about lightning stacking, and lightning jewels are just way cheaper than the cold, like 2-3 times less price for the lightning jewels. It's just way cheaper to play this build as a Tornado Shot, for example. Another cool thing about a lightning arrow is that it has kind of an innate arrow effect. It's a kind of AoE skill, so it has that cool thing about it hits 3 adjacent targets to the central target. So it has like a built-in arrow effect, which is kind of splash a lightning arrow effect around these arrows. So definitely it's pretty strong clear speed. As you can see, just fucking devastates all the breaches and all kind of packs. It just blow the fuck out of everything. Honestly, I have no problems speed farming anything. It's a very strong speed farming, like map clearing skill, so no problems here whatsoever. And it literally performs really well even without additional projectiles, which not all skills can handle. And another cool thing about this build is just strong single target, very strong single target. My numbers are 6 to 7 million barrage damage, and this is not really like this is also like a relatively tanky build. I build it relatively tanky. It's 5.6 thousand life with double dodge. So it's kind of pretty moderately tanky, even can survive this retarded amount of crazy amount of legion mobs, which really hit hard. So it can survive this shit as well. So even with all this, it's pretty delivering decent amount of single target damage, and like none of the bosses are problem. You don't need any dramatic boss skills. You just literally like stand still, barrage them to death. So both the clear speed damage and the single target are super nice. Very impressive bossing damage. I had no problems, and I killed Uber Elder 2 times. It is not a big of a deal. The damage like was so much that I insta faced Shaper and Elder, so just all around fantastic DPS. Let's move on to path of building, boys. Here we are in a path of building, guys, and I'm gonna just show you how the build progresses, where it should be going, and all that stuff. So we start as the Ranger, of course, and we'll be taking the Deadeye Ascendancy because Deadeye is a very flexible, strong character. If you want to try Pathfinder or Raider is also an option, but Raider is more like a straightforward attacking raw damage, very fast. Pathfinder is about like flask uptime, Herald of Agony, and immunity to the ailments. But Deadeye, I really fell in love with the Deadeye recently, and he is all about different kind of flexibility and utility. He's like quality of life. He can do so many things, like Rapture, you get life on bleeding enemies, you get crit multiply, bleeding. It's absolutely crazy. Gathering Winds is a mandatory thing to take for literally any Deadeye build. This is the first ascendancy choice for you. Fast and Deadly, basically global accuracy. You have no problems going crit with this amount of city accuracy out there. Powerful Precision. This is like a cheap pierce support that you get on any of your skills, as well as 100% increased critical strike chance against targets as they pierce, and they pierce all the time, so literally just 100% crit chance for cheap, literally free. There's also many options you can try, like for example Far Shot at 30%. Far Shot, just the farther your projectiles will travel, the more damage they do. This kind of compensates a little bit on top of the Point Blank, which is kind of close damage, and Far Shot is the like far away damage, so they can compensate each other a little bit. So a lot of people are taking Far Shot. Actually, it's very strong. Endless munitions. I personally don't use this. Skill find digital projectile. This is good for the barrage, like but to be honest, for the lightning arrow, this is just not very important, because we are mostly like using lightning arrow for speed farm. That's about it. And ricochet is like chaining, is like having, you know, additional chain, like a corrupted bow, using a chain support. This is very strong. This is very strong, but for this build, it's kind of not necessary, to be honest. Just use fork with Rigwells and you'll be the same thing practically. So let's start with the Ranger. First thing, we're gonna get a life over there. Take Heart of the Oak because it gives you 8% life, and Primal Spirit is also very important. Strength and Intelligence. We will need Strength and Intelligence. This is like important thing, and Intelligence is the hardest to get in the build because this is required to get like 21 Wrath. It will be using requires more 159 Intelligence, which is not easy to get. First thing I should transition to is Point Blank, which is kind of the biggest damage multiplier you can get in the early game. Take a Lethality and Primeval Force, then go to the left side of the tree and get these juicy Braveries, just Golem's Blood and Fury Bolts. I can also recommend going to the left side of the tree and grabbing all these juicy Jewel Knots early on, because it also adds a bit of life on there as you go, like with the Constitution and the Fat Life Wheel, and then just go up and start building your crit and damage. I recommend taking Acrobatics early on, like this one node, and then as you go, far, like 80s, 90s, take the second acrobatics, which is phase acro, and this will make you pretty damn tanky. The build, I will consider this a squishy build, because this is like a low life, under 6 life, I consider 6,000 life, I consider this as a squishy build. So I've been having a hard time surviving the Legion rares that literally like shot at me sometimes, and it was very hard to survive. So eventually I took both acros with not just one but two, and it really helped me to survive a little bit. So this crit is important, take it out. Another dual node, make sure you also grab Herbalism, this is important. This is important thing to get as well as we draw closer to the end game, which is this dual node with the Lioness Fall, and this is like super popular thing about any bow skills, because this Lioness Fall transforms these claw nodes into the bow nodes, and this is super crazy amount of juice over there. And possibly my favorite is this, which is Soul Reika. Attack damage leaches life and attack damage leaches mana. Literally that solves your mana and leech problems whatsoever, life, leech, and mana. So take this. And Lioness Fall is mandatory to have, so that this your literally first big investment is Lioness Fall in these nodes. Then go up life, then another jewel, and then practically just crit nodes with a cold-hearted, assassination, increased damage, crit strikes, another intelligence, trickery, and basically life and more attack speed and intelligence. That's about it. It's pretty straightforward skill tree out there, nothing spectacular, guys, like pretty standard out there. For the skills, I will go really quick. First of all, we're using this is our lightning arrow. Energy leech, critical hit damage, edit call is only for the leveling. Hypothermia, elemental damage with attacks, and GMP. I personally you can also swap slow projectiles with GMP for bosses, but I honestly just do not use lightning arrow for bosses at all. So this was just not necessary to me, to be honest. I just ran this, like early damage, GMP, hypothermia, lightning arrow, energy leech, and crit damage for the whole fucking game on a 6-link. That's about it. If you are missing some kind of links there, I probably will drop any crit damage, because as you go further, you will get enough crit chance to effectively use this crit damage. But if you don't have a lot of crit chance, you will not crit a lot, and this crit multiplier will be kind of wasted there. That's about it. For the boots, this is our Bubonic Trails, and we have Blood Rage with Ice Golem there. For the gloves, we're using 2-socket Tome Fist with Dash and Steel Skin. I cast Steel Skin manually. On the boots, I have wait a minute, that's boots. Sorry, that's helm. That's wrong here. That's helm. So yeah, the helm is where my auras are, and this is Herald of Thunder, Herald of Ice, Wrath, and Precision. This is all auras we will have packed with us, and the reason why we have so much auras is I also have this kind of expensive amulet called All Surprising with Wrath, reserves no mana, and this is probably the most kind of expensive and at the same time important things for the build. And this is probably the first thing I would aim for this build as you start farming currency. Before you get these All Surprising with the Wrath, I would probably drop a Herald of Thunder and Ice just to use Wrath and Precision. Precision gives you accuracy and crit chance, and Wrath just multiplies your lightning damage. It's like a big multiplier for your base lightning arrow damage, which is very important to have. That's about it. Thunder and Ice is kind of not crazy, to be honest. This is 5-link Barrage chest with Barrage, and this is our bossing damage single target. This is how we actually kill bosses, and as you can see, the damage there can be pretty retarded. There's like 8 million there with this bow, which I have here. If we can get switched to my bow, it's still like 7 million. It's pretty ridiculous. This is your DPS there for the bosses, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. The links are Barrage, Slow Projectors, LA Focus, LA Damage with Attacks, and Energy Leech. The reason why we have LA Focus here is because we don't really care if to freeze or shatter or whatever the fuck. We don't really care. We don't want to chill or freeze bosses. We just want to kill them as fast as possible with the biggest chunk of damage to deliver. and elemental focus literally like increases all our cold and lightning damage crazily. That's why this is the best support for this. I also have aspect of the spider on my ring. You can also get aspect of the spider on the belt, which is kind of an easier spot for this guy, so I can totally recommend to use this. I also have assassin's mark on the ring. This is also important to have, but not mandatory. Once again, it's just, you know, a very end game setup, which is, I personally killed Uber Elder without Assassin's Mark, guys. I just had aspect of the spider. Assassin's Mark is that kind of, if you can afford this, if you find the good ring for this, you can use Assassin's Mark. I use World's Mark ring just to get myself entrance charities, leech some extra bit. So I just want to prefer more defensive setup, to be honest. So Assassin's Mark is there for the absolute like end game shit DPS, but it's not mandatory to have at all. So that's about it. For the bandit skill all, we don't really care about anything else, even though it's kind of a crit build, but specking into crit is like secondary option. We're mostly stacking lightning damage there. I'll go over the gear really quick, guys. So this is the actual bow that I bought. And a couple important things to say about this. As you can see, this is a pretty standard call stacking shaper bow, which literally any tornado shot users use now. But it has lightning damage instead of cold damage because the ultimate source of our damage is lightning. I also crafted another chance to deal a double damage because it's literally a global multiply to all your base damage. It's in path of building, double damage give you this 9% double damage give you the same amount of crit chance, if like 26, 27 crit chance, but you know, double damage is just incredibly strong. The only reason why this bow is stronger than, for example, like Wind Ripper is just because of double damage. I mean, we are using Lightning Arrow, and like, if you stack like cold damage, it's good, but it's just not crazy. Like cold damage, if we add it to the barrage, it does the job. It does a buff, it buffs greatly barrage. But for Lightning Arrow, it literally is not a big impact. But double damage increases barrage, increases lightning arrow, increases pretty much everything. That's why double damage is the #1 mod you should be having on this bow. This is literally the most important thing to have. Cold damage to attacks is not even as important as double damage. That's about it. For the progression, there are many things that you can use. I use silver bow, silver branch with the upgraded silver bow. Up to a certain point. Then I went to the Lioness Glare. I think Lioness Glare requires like 66. Lioness Glare is also very fucking strong, as you can see. This is literally like the best bow for the early end game. Delivers well over 1 million damage there. Then I transitioned to the Wind Ripper, and Wind Ripper, I specifically wanted to see like if I can, how much damage can I deliver with the Wind Ripper. And this is kind of a, you know, a bow that is pretty easy to get. It's not very expensive right now, and it's what everyone uses. So the supply is there. It's not hard to get. People are setting it left and right. It's quite easy to get, and the damage is quite respectable. And I killed Uber Elder with the Wind Ripper, specifically to prove everyone that you don't really need this crazy bow. You know, you don't need to spend 20 exiles on a bow to kill Uber Elder. Absolutely not. It's not needed. Wind Ripper is like more than enough. I've been playing up to 92 with the Wind Ripper, and only at the very end I just decided I'm gonna buy this cold stacking bow to see if there's even a like dramatic impact on my damage. And I felt that the damage increased, but it was not like doubling the damage. As you can see, this 1.4 million, and then if I stack my bow, it's like almost 2 million, like 25 more damage, right? It's a big thing. It does feel that the damage got higher, but to be honest, guys, it's not crazy. It's just not mind-blowing because it's just, you know, big damage and even bigger damage. It's not like it's low damage and then it's big damage. It's already big damage and just bigger damage. So it doesn't really have a big impact. And this is the exact bow that I'm wearing on my character. And there's also an insane bow that I found on the trade, which is this. And this is kind of the strongest bow I've found for this build so far. This is the bow that has 120 increased elemental damage, and this is hard to get. This is very expensive. Bows such as this, the incredibly hard to craft. They'll be using like prismatic fossils, like a lot of fossils spent on this for sure. And this is hard to get, but this is the best bow for the build, literally. But this is like another dimension of the price is like 100 plus exiles. I see like 1900x. This is very expensive, so you can stick around with this. Another option for the build is Death Opus. It actually delivers some nice damage just as the Lioness Glare, so you can use it. Death Opus, not bad at all. Another cool option that I personally found is this. This is also the Shaper Bow, but it has 20% more attack damage. It's actually is kind of on par with the cold staking, but it does 10% more damage than the cold staking bow. For this build, like I said, this is a lightning arrow, so cold damage doesn't really do that much for the lightning arrow, but more attack damage, it increases barrage and lightning arrow at the same time. That's why it is just, does the job everywhere. It just increases everything. We do not care. So this bow, if you find it with more attack damage, and the rest mods are the same as on the normal bow, so more attack damage is better than the cold staking, guys. If you get this is around 10% more than this, literally, than this. The only reason why the DPS here is low is because this bow has like a shitty stats other than the more attack damage. But this bow is kind of had all the good stats. So, but if you craft these mods, like this mods on this bow will have like around 10% more damage than the bow that I currently use. I just wouldn't be unlucky. The bows with the more attack damage are generally, I checked the trade, they are like more expensive than the cold staking bows. That they are about 20 to 40 exiles, and cold staking bows are about 15 to 20, 25 exiles. So I think that more attack damage bows are harder to get. People craft them less because everyone is obsessed with the cold staking, but they are just a little bit stronger. All right. For the quivers, there's a couple of options. Here is Demise, is definitely my favorite. It's just incredibly strong. It has so much flat damage. It's just so fucking strong, guys. I also tried a Void Fletcher, but to be honest, I was not very impressed with the Void Fletcher. This Void charges, these Void shots, they seem to be doing some kind of damage, but it did not impress me. It did not impress me that much. So it's your personal choice. I know that a lot of people are using a Void Fletcher because it's kind of a feel strong thing, right? But I personally stick with the Demise, and I had no problems whatsoever at all. The body armor is Shroud of the Lightless, and overall the setup is very identical to the Kinetic Blast Barrage build, guys. It's practically the same thing over there, just with a bow. So Shroud of the Lightless is mandatory. It gives you a 6-ling. Without a 6-ling, it's actually 5-ling. So this is super powerful chest for the build. It also gives you 1% increased maximum life per Abyssal Jewel affecting you, and we have over 10 Abyssal Jewels, so there's over 10% more maximum life to our build. And this is just a super strong chest. It gives you a level 20 elemental penetration, so it's like penetrates by default everything that you put this. They are so super strong. Abyssal Jewels are pretty straightforward. Lightning damage to attacks, lightning damage to bow attacks, life, and something useful. The gloves are Tomb Fist with 2 sockets. Make sure you have one Murderous Eye Jewel there and one Searching Eye Jewel there as well. The corruption that you have on this is super expensive, but it's not mandatory. I just was able to afford this. Attacks has plus to critical strike chance. This is like GG corruption for this build. The Abyssal Jewels are like this. I also have one or two jewels like Onslaught and Blind Enemies on hit. Like I said, the build is kind of a pretty squishy. And leveling up is not that easy, I would say, because everything on the right side of the tree is kind of squishy. So I recommend to use 2 jewels with Onslaught and Blind on hit with attacks, because Blind is a powerful mechanic. It just helps you survive. Blind with Onslaught and all kind of there's also the jewel with have the jewel with Phase Run somewhere. I just don't have it, but I have it on my character. So Phase Run, phasing, Onslaught, and Blind. These are very strong mechanics. The boots are Bubonic Trails with 2 sockets, and this is the strongest enchant that you can get, which is damage penetrates elemental resistance. The second best is added lightning damage, so if you can get it, this is GG. The amulet, like I said, is All's Uprising. This is a very strong amulet. Ref reserves no mana. This is very expensive. If you don't have it, just use like plenty of options. Physical is lightning damage, damage penetration. Non-chaos is extra chaos damage. Element, like different options. I have a lot of options there. You can check out and look for all of them on your way to the All's Uprising. You can guys check it out. And the ring we have here is Mark of the Elder. If you happen to have this Elder Ring and this Shaper Ring, then this Mark of the Elder gives you a lot of attack damage, like up to 80% increase attack damage, as well as cold damage to attacks. This is like a GG for this, and I personally recommend it to get this Corruption with all resistance. This can be pretty pricey, but you can get it. I was lucky to get this for like 10 chaos, but it's kind of hard to get, so you can use this. Another ring is this ring, which is pretty insane. Aspect of the Spider, Life Assassin's Mark. This is not mandatory. Like I said, I got actually different ring. I got the ring with Warlord's Mark because I just like to survive more. So Assassin's Mark in general is just the top end, the super like top end gear, which is not even mandatory to have. The belt is this. This is what I have. Like I said, I didn't use this ring with the Ascendancy Mark and Aspect of the Spider. I used this belt. This is where I got my Aspect of the Spider and lightning damage, life resistance, and elemental damage with attacks. With this belt was about 3 Exiles. That's about it. The flasks, I go there more really quick. Tyr's Promise, LA damage as extra chaos, a Dying Sun for projectiles, Life Flask, Diamond Flask for the crits, and Quicksilver for mobility. If you don't want to use Diamond Flask, you can also use Cinder Swallow Urn, because we will be igniting enemies. Lightning Arrow will ignite because we have additive lightning damage with the Hero's Damage. Hero's Damage gives us fire damage attacks per strength, so we'll have lightning damage. Since we crit a lot, we'll ignite the enemies, and Cinder Swallow Urn is kind of procs all the time. This is like strong defensive and offensive flask. You can use it. That's about it. You can also use normal, normal silver or whatever the flask you really wish. For the jewels, there is a couple of cool things there. This is the Watcher's Die that I personally have on my Kinetic Blast jewel. This is a double Wrath jewel, increased critical strike chance while affected by Wrath, and damage penetrates lightning resistance while affected by Wrath. This is the one I have. This was about 17 Exiles. So overall, guys, this is a pretty maximized gear. Like I said, this is literally the gear that I used on my Kinetic Blast Wonder. So this is the same gear. I just switched the bow, quiver, and the helmet was also there. Oh, I forgot to talk about the helmet. Helmet is Fractal Thoughts. Fractal Thoughts is the new unique that is introduced in the 3.7. I think it's not a restricted drop, but this is absolutely crazy. Look at this. Crit multiply per increase if your dexterity is stronger than the strength, which is always the case. I edited this Wall Mask to actually give you all the bonuses there. It does look a little different there in the game. I just edited it. So it gives increased dexterity, it gives you crit multiply, and increased elemental damage per dexterity, as well as gives you maximum life per intelligence. It will have 159, about 160 intelligence. This is the bare minimum to use Wrath. So we'll have about 30 life too. So it gives you dexterity, crit multiply, elemental damage, like 40 elemental damage, and 30 life. This is just absolutely ridiculous. And the helmet enchant is the Barrage fires additional projectile. This is just the Barrage to boost the single target damage. And a Lightning Arrow enchant is kind of cool, but it's only for the farming, and shit just dies during the farming anyway. So I personally opted for the kind of end game helmet enchant with the Barrage fires additional projectiles. That's about it. Like I said, Linus Fall, guys, one there to transform claw nodes into the bow nodes. That's about it. For the ascendancy, I personally took a Gathering Winds as first to get myself some kind of move speed. I also took Rupture as the second to boost my damage. I took I think I did Fast and Deadly as the third, to be honest, because this is just crazy amount of global accuracy. And the last was Powerful Precision. This will actually go to the mapping, and this is where I need to pierce, and this is where I dropped the pierce support entirely from the sixtening, and this is where I got this pierce on the node as a node, and started getting criting all the time and shattering all the time. That's about it, guys. So this practically it's about the skill tree. I'll be implementing the leveling trees over there, guys, so it will be easier for you to go up and understand how to go up to the tree. So that's about it. So that's about it for the build, guys. I really hope you appreciate the work that I do, and you enjoyed the content that I do. I really like creating the optimized builds, and I really like pushing them to the end game. The way how I do builds in general is they're pretty newbie friendly. I guide you for all the process. I get a lot of questions. I try to reply them as much as I can. If you have more questions, make sure you guys join Discord. I try to reply there as well. This is like top place where it's easier for me to handle all your incoming feedback. Like I said, the build is just super smooth, strong. I was pretty even surprised how strong it is. I thought there's a reason why people are just using it for leveling and just give up later and transition to something. But to be honest, this is not the case. The build can handle absolutely everything, and I killed 2 Uber Elders with this, one with the Wind Ripper and one with the Cold Stacking Dex Bow, and the result was fucking identical. So the Cold Stacking Dex Bow is not even needed to kill Uber Elder. It's all about how you dodge. The damage is there. It's still like 5-6 million barrage on the Wind Ripper, so it's not even needed to get this crazy amount of damage there. It's all about how well you position your barrages and all that stuff, so it's not even important. So thanks for watching, guys. See you next time. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for watching the video. Your likes and dislikes, especially, as they push me forward even more. If you want to see more content, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do daily uploads of role-playing content, be it builds, guides, let's play, stream highlights, and upcoming RPG games. Also, don't forget to follow my Twitch stream to catch me live in action. I do stream daily on working days. I'm a full-time YouTube content creator and a Twitch streamer too, so if you want to support me, you can do it either from Twitch or by PayPal directly from my website, angryroleplayer.com. Join my Discord channel too for a place to discuss RPG things offline, as well as follow my Twitter to be notified on any new content. If you want to get extra information like sneak peeks into upcoming videos, plans, different behind-the-scenes footage, you can also join the Unholy Army on Patreon as well, guys. Thank you very much once again for watching, listening to all this. See you soon.